Okay, so to start with, we're going to be using the vertical, or sorry, not the vertical, the horizontal title block, so you can get rid of the other title block. Next, we are going to be doing an isometric drawing. So down here, remember your button that's right here in this area. It's right beside your polar. That is where you turn your isometric drafting on and off. So click it, turn your isometric drafting on. And that puts your cursor in there at that cool angle. All right. From there, what you're going to do next is, let's take a look at what we're actually going to be drawing. So I'm going to go over to this tab. And here's our 3 different drawings we're going to be creating. We're going to start by blocking our drawing out. And we're going to draw this over on the other sheet. So to do that, in the front view, this thing is a 2" by 2" little block. And it's a 1/2 inch thick. So coming back over here to our isometric drawing. Again, I'm just going to block it out. So start on your layout layer. And here on the front view, let's draw just a 2. And make sure you have your ortho on. I do not. So mine's going at all these different angles. So make sure to turn your ortho on. That locks you in. Now I can only draw on those 2 angles. And draw 2 by 2. Come on. Oh, I did not do 2. I don't know how many I did, but it is a lot more than 2. There we go. 2 by 2. Little block there in the front view. Then, again, this thing's a 1/2 inch thick, so I have to hit my F5 and go back there 1/2 inch. And get that top section done, that top plane. And then last but not least, over here on our front plane, get that drawn as 1/2 inch thick. All right. Once you have that, you're ready for the next step, and we'll do that here in just a moment. All right, so next, now that we have this thing blocked in, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the details we're going to put on this drawing. So I'm going to go back over here to my 3-view drawing. And here's what we're going to do to this first block. If you notice, out of the top corner, I'm going to come over a 1/2 inch and down 1, and I'm going to cut this off at an angle. Same thing on this corner. It's mirrored over here, 1/2 inch over and 1 inch down. So what that's going to look like here on this drawing is this. Now, as long as you're on a layout line or a layout layer, you can come in here and drawing lines on top of each other is a bad habit to get into, but when it's a layout, it's really okay. So here I'm going to come down my 1 inch, and then just to make it clearer for you guys so you can visualize it, I always put a little tick mark here so you can see my little line. You don't need to do that part of it. I do it there so you can visually see where I'm drawing my line to. So that one's 1 inch down. From this corner, I'm going to go a 1/2 inch over in that direction, so I'm going to go over 0.5. Again, I'm going to put that little tick mark there for you. So now, right there, from that point to that point, I'm just going to cut that off at an angle. So I'm just going to put a line between those 2 points. And that's got that first part of it cut off. Now what you're going to do is on your own, go ahead and do this other side of it, the exact same thing, 1/2 inch over and 1 inch down, and cut that one off there. I'll let you do that on your own. Oh, come on. O-snap's definitely one you can turn on and off. That's up to you whether you keep it on or off. Okay, so now, what I would do from here is I always like to kind of darken things as I go. So for me, I'm going to switch to my object layer. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of trace over top of this from there to there, out to there, back over, back down, to there and to there. And again, having a line on top of a layout line is just fine. It's not a problem. If you were going to do something with this later as a solid, you would just freeze your layout layer, and all the lines would disappear. You come up here, you go freeze, and now you're down to just that line. Okay, so from there, that's done. You now need to do the back surface. I do want you to watch, even if you got this done, just watch for a couple seconds here because I'm going to explain one little tiny tidbit here. So from here, I'm going to come in here with an object line. We're going to come back at this 30-degree angle. Here it happens to lock in nicely right to there, so that's kind of nice. On this one, I'm going to come back at that same 30-degree angle. Now, here, sometimes O-snap's a pain and it doesn't want to lock in where you want it to. So in that instance, I just draw it past. I don't try to fight O-snap or tracking. I just draw it past like that, and then just trim off that line. And then it's pretty easy to connect these 2 points. So that's one way of doing that side, which is great. And did I not? Oh, I didn't start my video back up. Oh, yes, I did. Oh, now that's going to be weird on the video when you really watch the video. All right, video is going. So that's one way of doing it. Now, I want to show you another way of doing it. And this is another way to doing it is going copy. So I'm going to go CO for copy. I'm going to take that angled line. I'm going to copy that line back. It needs to go back at this angle. That 30-degree angle, it needs to go back there a ½ inch because this object's a ½ inch thick. So I'm going to go back there 0.5. And notice how it perfectly puts that line into place. And now I can go ahead and just put that line from there to there. It really doesn't matter. Either way, that does it exactly correct. It's just a little bit different way of doing it. Later, I'll show you other reasons why we did that make a little bit more sense. So continue and finish that thing up and trimming everything off. On this one, I don't care. It's up to you whether you leave your layout or whether you get rid of your layout. That's kind of your decision on this drawing. I'll let you go whichever way you want to. All right, so now, real quick, a comment on everybody's drawings here recently. There have been a few people, I don't remember exactly who it is when I grade, but some of you don't have your title block all filled in correctly, or finished correctly, meaning that the words in your title block are still in the layout layer, or that where it says whatever, you just have question marks in there. You don't have all the text in the title block correctly. You need to make sure and be getting that finished because every drawing that I'm finding that on is costing you like, you know, a 5% of your drawing. So instead of 100%, you're down to a 95 if I find that wrong. Or if you're at a 60, then you're down to a 55. You're down to failing a drawing. So make sure you have your title block finished correctly. If you need some help with that at some point, ask me and I can help you with that. Raven 50 is a great choice for that. Next, when you see a line out here, object line. Visually, the object line between a layout line, what's the difference between those visually? Color is one. What's another one? The thickness of it. So your line weight. Line weight's a very important thing. When I'm grading things, if things look like this, how similar do all those lines look to each other? They look very similar, especially the difference between the cyan and the white. If you're doing cyan, which some of you are, which is fine, it's hard for me to tell the difference when I'm grading it on this little tiny snapshot of what lines are what. If you have your line weight on, notice how much of a difference that makes. And visually, that's very easy to tell the difference on. So make sure that you have your line weight on drawings. And if you don't know how to do that, I will help you get that line weight on. Just ask me once I'm done with this little step. So just make sure those things are taken care of. All right, next, let's look at our little last tidbit on this drawing. Next, there's a hole. There's a hole out in the middle of that thing, 5/8 inch diameter, 1 inch over, 1 inch down. So we're going to go back to our drawing here. I just put a center line from the top to the bottom. Oops, and I want that on the layout layer though. I put a layout line from the top to the bottom, left to the right, and right there I'm going to draw a circle, and I'm going to make that circle the diameter of 5/8. And let me know, how's that look? Does it look correct visually? No. On an isometric drawing, is a round hole drawn as a circle? No. What's it drawn as? It's drawn as an ellipse. We didn't use ellipse a lot, so I think way back at the beginning I showed you ellipse command. You drew a couple of ellipses, that's about it. Here's actually a use for the ellipse command. So if you go EL for ellipse and enter. Next, when you have this thing checked on, which is your isometric drafting option, you have some options for the ellipse command. You have an arc, a center, or an isocircle. What do you think you might draw? Yeah, because we're doing an isometric and you're drawing a circle. So you're going to do an isocircle. You either go I, enter, or click on it there, either way. So we're going to do an isocircle. My isocircle is going to start out here. Now looking at my isocircle, how's mine look? What plane am I on? Which is the top. If I hit F5 once, I go to the right side plane. If I hit F5 again, look at that. That's on the front plane. That's beautiful. And now I'm going to go D for diameter and type in 5/8. And that's going to have that there correctly. You can select it and put that on your object layer, and it's beautiful. All right. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 more drawings of that exact shape of block. Exact base shape of the block, I should say. So what I'm going to do is, in the top plane, in the middle of the drawing here, I'm going to draw a nice 2-inch by 2-inch little block there. The same as our last block. How thick was it? How thick was this thing? 1/2 inch. We're going to go 1/2 inch. So this second one we're doing is exactly like our first, except for it's laying down, and the 2x2 is in the top view. We are going to do a third one, and the third one, guess it, it's going to be facing to the right side for our 2x2. I know, crazy. And if you're a little bit too close together like me, you might have to move stuff over a little bit. And there we go. So work towards that, and we'll go on in just a moment with those other two. All right, so for the next one, what you're going to do is, let's look at what it's going to be. So let me go over here. Your next one, this is the actual drawing. It has 2 holes in it. They're 1/2-inch diameter holes. It has 2 filleted corners, which are a radius of 1/2 for the fillet on your corners. And all of those things are in a 1/2 inch from the edge. So 1/2 inch over, 1/2 inch down are the center lines for that. On this drawing, I'd start with drawing in all your center lines and then putting your ellipses in there. Now, here's a little helpful tip. Your ellipse, or your corners up here, first off, I guess, your holes are going to go on each side. I'm just going to draw these as circles because it's quick and easy. So there and there are going to be your 2 holes. Those will be ellipses. On the top and bottom are going to be your filleted corners. You cannot do it this way. You cannot just come in here with the arc command and draw an arc, like so. You can't come in here, with another arc and draw it in like so. On the same hand, you cannot use a fillet to do that. It won't work. The only way to do arcs or circles or fillets or any of those things on an isometric drawing is by using an isocircle. So this, instead of a little arc, has to be an isocircle. That will be trimmed, obviously, but it has to be that. So from there, I'm going to let you just work for a little bit, and I'll help you through this. So I would start with center lines to start with. Okay, the first step that I do on this one is I create the center lines. So you got to start somewhere. I always start with the center lines. I want my O snap on, so I snap to where I want to be. From there, I'm going to go over a 1/2 inch in that direction. Then I'm going to put a center line all the way across my block, like so. Oh, what the heck? I don't know what I just did. Let me try that again. So there we go, center line there. I'm going to then come forward a 1/2 inch and put a center line across there. I'm going to go to this corner, put a center line a 1/2 inch over here. Oh, that was not a 1/2 inch. Let me try that again. Center line across there. And one there. So that's where I start. I always trim these off just so I have nice center lines there on that top surface that are like that. So hopefully everybody can see that and visualize that. From there, I did an ellipse, an isocircle from that point. This one has to be a diameter of 0.5. Exact same diameter over here, so I usually copy it because I think that's quicker. I just go CO and copy it over there. On this same center point, I'm going to do an ellipse, isocircle. This one is a 1-inch radius though, however. Sorry, 1/2 inch radius. So I'm going to just go 0.5. And it puts a large 0.5 circle in there, or a large 0.5 radius or 1-inch diameter circle. I'm going to copy it up to the top. And then I'm just going to trim off. I'm going to trim and trim, trim and trim, erase, and put everything on the correct layer so my top surface is all done. I go ahead and I darken up the rest of it here as I go. And so my top surface is finished. So there you go. That's the top surface finished, and I'll pause there.